All right, thank you, John, and thank you, everybody. Well, my name is Ariel Aguilar. I am the author of this book called Bitcoin Prophecy. I have it both in Spanish and English. I am from Argentina. I am an early Bitcoiner from Argentina. And I was traveling throughout Europe, and I realized that Europeans did not know about the economic history of Argentina. It's a fascinating history. So I'm going to give you a little summary of what's going on and also talk a bit about Bitcoin as well. What can we learn about Argentina? So most likely you've seen these images about Argentina. It's a beautiful place. Of course, you know where it's located, right? And also, it's a monetary disaster. It's a country that has killed 6 different currencies. So this is from the 19th century. We had a lot of diversity in different currencies from private banks, provinces, different governments, etc. So the first one, we had to divide by 25. So 25 peso moneda corriente became 1 peso moneda nacional. This was the first national currency unified for the country. I have it here in my pocket, so later I will show it to you guys in case you want to see it. Let's see if I can get it. I have one of each, right? Of all the Argentine currencies. So this was the longest running one because it went from 1880 until 1970. For some periods, it did have gold backing, but whenever there was a crisis, they would take out the gold backing. And in 1970, we switched to peso ley. Let's see if I will try to find them, but I have them all mixed. So peso ley is this one over here. So 100 peso moneda nacional became 1 peso ley. This currency lasted for 13 years, up until the Falkland Wars, right? Like Islas Malvinas, la guerra. And this peso bill got up to 1 million pesos. So the highest note was 1 million pesos. So then we took out 4 zeros. So 10,000 of these pesos became 1 Argentine peso, more patriotic, right? And this currency, we destroyed it in 2 years. Imagine changing the whole currency for a country and destroying it in just 2 years. So after that, I was born then in 85. This is the million peso. We got what was called the Austral plan. And the Austral, when it was born, it was more valuable than $1. 83 cents of an Austral bought you $1. All right, so how many years do you think it took us to be in hyperinflation again? 2 years, all right. It took us 4 years. By 89, we were in hyperinflation again. So the president that did the Austral, he called elections in advance to leave office because he made a whole mess. He had already destroyed 2 different currencies, the peso argentino and the Austral. So the next president, Menem, he got into power in 89, 6 months before official date. And at first he had inflation, hyperinflation. They tried to tame it down, but then they had this brilliant idea of doing sort of like a tether, like the USDT. They proposed to do 1 peso, $1. So this Minister of Economics, he proposed, we are only going to print 1 peso if we have $1 saved in the central bank, or a treasury bill. If not, if we don't have it, we will not going to print it. So this period lasted 10 years, from 92 till 02. The law said that whenever the exchange rate for an Austral reached 10,000 Australs for $1, the convertibility will kick in. And so they took out, yeah, 4 zeros out of that, and 10,000 Australs became 1 peso. So Menem left office in '99, but the next president was really similar to Joe Biden because he was an old man, he got lost in stages, and this man at first on campaign, he proposed to lower taxes, but first thing he did in office the very first day was to raise taxes. So the Argentine economic really tanked, went into an economic depression, and I'm going to show you a few images of what happened because we had an amazing, huge crisis in Argentina back in 2001. So what happened before we show some videos? The government could not create pesos out of thin air. If it did not have dollars saved in the central bank, they couldn't print it. So they were running out of money, and I remember watching the TV news every morning. They would tell us what the country risk was. The country risk is the interest rate Argentina pays over what the risk-free rate is. And they would quote it. So it was like 472, 512. They would tell us the day, the time, the weather, and the country risk. So we knew that eventually, when we reach a certain point, we were going to default because the interest payments were going to get so big that we were not going to be able to pay. So they proposed a sort of like a CBDC experiment because on a Monday they told us that everybody was trapped inside of the banking system. All the dollars and all the pesos that you had in the banking system, now you could not withdraw it. You could only use banks for payments. So you could only use debit cards, credit cards, wire transfers, or checks. But you could not take the money out. They put a cap of $250 or pesos per week, right? And that was it. If you had 100,000 or you already had $1 million, you could not take it out. So we went into a crisis, and now I'm going to show you, John, one of the videos of what happened during that crisis. Yeah, I don't know what that video is. So we started having lootings all around the country. People started rioting and looting shops, taking everything from the supermarkets, the drugstores. So it was not advised to leave your house because it got really dangerous. And this video became famous because más volumen. Because this guy, a Chinese supermarket owner, so they destroyed his whole business. The police wasn't helping him, right? And the rumor was that the next day he committed suicide. So we never forgot about him. But unfortunately, researching about the topic, we found out that he did not kill himself. It was just like a rumor. So the president, like there was like a Joe Biden, he declared martial law on a Thursday night. He said he did an announcement to the whole country, a curfew, sorry. You cannot leave the house after like 10 p.m. up until the 6 a.m. of the next day. The constitutional rights were suspended. That's what he said, right? So on the next day, on the Friday, people came out and rioted even more. And they rioted on the main square of where the pink house is, right, where the office of government. And he took out the police with horses, and 20 people were killed in that square that day, 20th of December of 2001. So then we saw the next image, the next one, that one, yeah. So it was 7 p.m., almost 8 p.m., and we saw the image of that's the presidential helicopter. That's the pink house, which is like our White House. So the helicopter landed on the roof of the pink house. There's no helipad on the roof, right? And this is the Joe Biden, right? They have to help him walk up the stairs because he cannot walk by himself, right? And he resigned. So he just said, well, I resigned, right? After 2 years in office, and we did not have a vice president because the vice president had resigned 6 months before that. So the country was without president, right? And everybody saw this image, the president running away, fleeing, and they wouldn't tell us where he was going, right? Nobody knew, right? Goodbye. Yeah, goodbye, right? And now it says it was 740 days. Goodbye. So, so then Argentina went through. I'm going to show another one. Argentina went through the constitution. It says the next in line is the president of the Senate. So they chose that guy, Adolfo Rodriguez Sá, and when that, the next video, yeah. And that guy, on his inaugural speech, I'm going to show you, right? Volumen. He's going to take the bull by the horns. We're going to talk about the external debt. First, I announce Argentina is going to suspend the payment of the debt, right? So, and then all the deputies and senators started cheering, right? Clapping, standing ovation, and now they're going to start chanting. Right? See if you can hear it. Argentina, Argentina, Argentina. It's like we had won the World Cup, right? Champions of the world, serial defaulters, right? This guy only lasted 2 weeks in office, and he even wrote a book about his works in his 2 weeks in office, right? So he defaulted. Then he resigned, or they took him down, I don't know. We went through 3 more presidents, and the 5th president in total was the next guy, Dualde. He took us out of convertibility, so this 1-to-1, we're going to respect the currencies in which you did your deposits. Whoever deposited dollars will get dollars, who deposited pesos will get pesos, right? So what do you think people got? Dollars or pesos? Pesos. Everybody got pesos. So if you had $1 million in the bank, or 10 million, or 100,000, whatever, they gave you pesos. So all the bank accounts of the country, for all the companies, everybody went to zero. Zero! And what they did, because they're really clever in imagination, they invented a new term that was called asymmetric specification. That's what they call it, right? They would take your whatever you had, let's say it was 100,000, they would multiply it by 1.4, so they would add you 140,000 pesos. to your peso bank account, but they will leave you with $0. So the whole country got wiped out of dollars. How much was the exchange rate in the free market to buy and sell dollars? 4. So it went from 1 to 1 to 4 to 1 in a few days, right? So if you took your 140,000 pesos and you decided to buy back dollars, you were able to purchase 35,000. So everybody lost 65% of all they had, right? So that's all the videos I'm going to show you. I just wanted to give you a sense of what's going on. So ever since, we've been inflating away our currency from 1 to 1 to 4 to 1. Then we went to 6, 7, 8, 10. Then we started putting capital controls, exchange controls. So you're not freely able to buy dollars with your pesos. And we've developed a black market that we call the blue dollar, right? Now Milei is trying to close the gap between the black market and the official market. And he says he's gonna liberate the dollar, right? He still hasn't done it, but he says we're really close. So right now you need to round it up, 1,000 pesos to get $1. So I did some math, and this is how many pesos somebody, let's say your grandfather, he would need. Let's say your grandfather was the richest Argentine to have ever lived, and he had, this is million, billion, trillion, he had 10 trillion pesos, which is most likely more than all the pesos that there ever was, right? In 1970. And he sold all his companies, all his farms, airplanes, real estate, gold, all he had, and he put it in pesos. Because Argentine politicians, what they tell us is you have to be not a vendepatria, which is if you say in dollars, you're a cipayo, which is, you're selling the motherland, right, or the fatherland. So you have to save in the currency of the politicians. Well, if we did that, we would have 100 billion peso lei, 10 million peso argentino, 10,000 Australes, and 1 pesito. This peso used to be $1, now is less than 10% of a dollar, right? Sorry, 10% of a penny, sorry, right? So that's how much we've destroyed. It's a wealth-destroying machine, or how to suck the energy of people at a distance, right? So this is why Argentines understand Bitcoin. And I guess most likely in Paraguay you've also had inflations, right? Does somebody want to tell any story? ¿Algún paraguayo quiere contar una historia de la hiperinflación aquí? ¿Alguien que sea mayor? Nobody, all right. But most likely you also had this kind of inflation. So yeah, images from the crisis. All the pensioners losing their savings. There's no justice, no work, no economic plan, no banks, no dollars, no pesos. What we do have is thieves. And now let's fast forward a bit and see what happened after that. So in 2009, with a few people on Facebook, we started doing the first libertarian party of Argentina, Liberal Libertario. And Milei saw this back then. He became a libertarian in 2014. Now he declares himself to be a liberal libertario. But we were the guys that invented that term. And I have conversations with him because I've been trying to orange peel him for a few years, unsuccessfully. But this is in 2014, right? So Javier says to me, "Thank you for accepting my friend request. Cheers, JM." And I said, "Cheers." In August. So in October, I sent him a talk. I gave about Bitcoin, and I told him, it's entertaining, you're gonna like it. And he told me, oh, that's great. Would you send me the PPT PDF to his email? I really appreciate it. My boss wants to invest 800 M in Bitcoins. And this where I thought he was totally crazy. Because I said, thousands or millions? M is for millions, haha. 800 green sticks. In Argentina, green stick is $1 million, right? It's an excellent. $800 million. That's going to move the market. That's a good data. But my boss is somewhat impulsive. His boss was Ernequian, which is a billionaire. I said, okay, we're going to have to get together. My task on the next 5 years is going to be to evangelize on Bitcoin. I said, I can tell you to give you a conference if you like, or talk to the guy that has the mess on top. The thing is, I thought he was totally delusional. The first time I saw him in person, he was wearing like a shirt and a bathing suit beneath, a trunk, right? And he was telling me about buying 800M. Bitcoin was like $400 per Bitcoin back then. So it was an impossible purchase. It was like buying 2 million coins, 10% of all the supply. It was impossible. So I never sent him the email. I never follow up, and I never tried to do the deal. So, but anyways, through the years, I've been crossing paths because he was like one of us. He was coming to libertarian meetups. He was going to conferences of Austrian economics. And every time you would approach and try to talk to him about Bitcoin, he would listen like for 2 minutes, and eventually he would say, yeah, I'm all in for Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, right? I am all in for private monies. And he would say like in plural, right? So in conclusion, he doesn't understand Bitcoin deeply. He doesn't know the difference of why proof of work and proof of stake, or why Bitcoin and not crypto and such. It's all in the same bag, right? So at least he's in favor of monetary competition or freedom, right? So if eventually he gives us that, Bitcoin will fall inside of that, right? So yeah, so this is the book I wrote. I wrote a few copies, mostly in Spanish, but I do have a few in English in case you want it. So the first part of the book is about Argentine history, more in detail than what I told you about. But the book is not only about that, because it also has, it's divided into 5 parts. First about Argentina, second part is about what Bitcoin is, third part is about economics, politics, and philosophy. The fourth part is about a Bitcoin future, so how a Bitcoin economy or a Bitcoinized world would work, like how a deflationary economy will work. And the very last part of the book is spiritual. All right? So, well, that's pretty much it. I don't know if we have much time, but if you want, we can do one or two questions from the audience if we have a few minutes for that. I also want to show you what you think of your question, that we've been touring many places because it all started in Argentina. We did this Bitcoineta, and Bitcoineta came to Asunción, right? The first one. This is from 2018. Then in 2021, when Bukele announced Bitcoin legal tender, we did second Bitcoineta for El Zonte in Bitcoin Beach. In 2022, there's this Bitcoineta for Bitcoin Ekasi in South Africa, which has horns. Last year we did Bitcoineta for Europe, and I have been touring Europe for the last 2 years. And eventually there will be more Bitcoinetas coming, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, that's a question.
Thank you for your presentation, really great. And I have a question like, how deeply was Milei involved with like crypto scams and shitcoin projects? Like I think a year before there was some funky stuff still happening.
Yeah, this is the dark side of Milei, let's say. I don't know. I mean, I believe that he's an anarchist and he loves dollars, he loves money. So when, in the past, whenever there was a crypto project or a scam coin or whatever, perhaps he didn't know about this, I don't know, but whenever they come approach him and say, I'm gonna pay you to give a talk, or I'm gonna pay you to pose for a photo, shaking hands with us, he would do it, right? And there was a famous one that was called CoinX, where he appeared on a video shaking hands with all the CoinX guys, and eventually, a few months later, CoinX rug pulled everybody, scammed everybody, and Milei got really, yeah, uh, yeah, he got in a bad situation because of that. They also found him to be plagiarizing books. Like he wrote a few books, and yeah, there was somebody that did a copy and paste of the book and searched it on Google, and they realized that was parts from Mises and Rothbard without quotes. So it was as if Millet said it, right? So yeah, that's also.
Do you believe that he will dissolve the central bank and actually dollarize or make a free market for monies?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he really knows what he's gonna do eventually, um, because he has what, according to him, stopped money printing the peso. He has given talks implying that because he stopped printing the peso should be almost as good. He hasn't said Bitcoin, but he gave the same arguments that we Bitcoiners do, that when you have a finite amount of pesos and the economy grows, it's going to become a deflationary currency, right? So what is it, right? Are we going to keep the pesos and become the super hardest currency in the world? After Bitcoin, of course, or is it going to close the central bank? So we don't know. I'm not sure if he knows, but what's most likely is the fact of giving us monetary freedom. That's the one I want the most, right? Free everything, use whatever you want to use. Bitcoin would fall inside of that. That's going to be great for us and for everybody. Yeah. Second questions.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a question here. My name is Sid, I'm from the Netherlands, and in your talk, you said something that the conclusion of the book dealt with the spiritual nature of your monetary philosophy. So could you please elaborate on that for a bit?
All right. Well, this is a really complicated topic, so I will try to do my best. The thing is, I believe that Bitcoin is as significant as what has happened in many religions, right? Uh, if I go really back in time, let's go back in time like 12,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago, right? At one moment, we were more like monkeys. We were more savages, right? We've developed language 50,000 years ago. So for 2 million years, we were just growling, like, "Rrr, ah, ooh, ooh, ah," right? And then we started talking. Then we settled down 10,000 years ago. So we stopped wandering, right? And we developed cities and farms. We changed our diet. But around 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, there were the first people that said, no, we should abide by a certain set of rules. There were a group of people that constrained themselves, and they said 10 commandments, right? We're not going to kill, we're not going to steal, we're not going to lie, etc. Why? They say because God says so, but most likely they realized it was the best behavior, moral behavior they could have. Then we have a figure like Jesus, 2,000 years ago. And Jesus was as significant that now we are counting the years after him. Right? We are 2024 years after Jesus. So what if Bitcoin becomes something that is as significant as Jesus or as Judaism, right? Judaism gave us monotheism, right? Because it could be a jump in consciousness where we also decide as a group of humans to self-restrict ourselves, and we say we are only going to use 21 million coins. That is something that is part of the culture. Even though some people say, no, it's in the code. No, it's also a culture, it's also an idea. Most likely in the next few decades, there's going to be groups of people, it could be governments, media, bankers, whatever, that they will start trying to say, no, we should change Bitcoin because we arrived late, right? Let's do it 42 million, let's do it 100 million. Let's, yeah, right? Exactly. And we are going to say, no, that's not Bitcoin, right? Up yours. We're going to defend Bitcoin. So we need to defend the cultural aspects and also the significance Bitcoin has. Because it could also start a new era for mankind, because it's going to be a clear deflationary era. Right now, there's people stealing the deflation. Economic growth always implies deflation. But let's say in the next few years, AI is so powerful that it gives you 10% economic growth or 20% economic growth in a year. But let's imagine that inflation or deflation stays at zero. What does it mean? That there's a group of people that are stealing the 20% deflation caused by the AI, which are the central bankers. So the regular people will think, oh, the dollar is stable. No, it's not stable. They're stealing the productivity growth, the deflation. So in order to stabilize prices, there's got to be somebody stealing the deflation. And then comes Bitcoin. And Bitcoin says, no, I'm going to give you to all mankind that wishes to use Bitcoin all the deflation that there is, right? This is going to change human behavior. This is going to change what it means to be alive. Because right now, in Argentina, Paraguay, whatever, we were living life in hard mode. It's like a video game, right? So you can choose how much you complicate your life, right? How hard you make it. When you put a human in a hyperinflationary environment, you destroy the human, right? People can only think in today. Like, I have to survive today. Tomorrow is a problem for tomorrow's Ariel, right? But if you give humans a good money, Bitcoin, now they will change. They will say, no, I'm going to think for my grandchildren. I'm going to leave a legacy. I'm going to build a family, whatever. These are all the things that I talk about in the book. So if you want a copy, I will sign it for you. And I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.